looks like we are ready to go on YouTube as well, so give me a second to make certain everybody here is brought into the mix. If you're just joining us, same as it ever was. Not much of anything going on into and around the area for the last couple of days. Things have remained very much on the quiet side. Some thunderstorms, yes, some activity in the way of hot conditions, but we did not pick up anything in the way of very heavy amounts of heat like we did last week, so some good news on that. We do see, again, a pretty extended possibility of less in the way of anything involving cooler weather anytime soon. So for right now, if you've got any plans for outdoors, definitely want to make certain you play it safe. Keep it tuned to News 12 for updates in regards to what is going on with the forecast, because we'll continue to see some pretty hot conditions coming up within the course of the next couple of days. Not blazing hot, that's good news on that, but it will be, again, very much on the hot side out there throughout the course of the next several days. So that's going to be the worst of the worst. All right, we are starting Facebook in 3, 2, 1. Stand by. Here we go. All right, it is Tuesday. Tuesday? Yes, Tuesday. Sorry, just having to get things taken care of on there. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. It is Tuesday evening. It is decently pleasant. It's very warm. There's no question about that. The really good news is that it's July and we're not roasting like we were last week. There's no sign of anything involving any heat advisories at this time. It will be typically July-ish. There's no question about that. But as of right now, again, the possibility of seeing anything in the way of huge amounts of rainfall coming up or anything in the way of very heavy heat or major severe weather, that's not happening. So into the first half of July, things do look to be relatively quiet. If you got any questions about the forecast, go ahead and drop those into the comments section. And again, if you're on Twitch or YouTube, go ahead and join us there if you'd like to. We're trying to bring this to everybody as much as we possibly can. Your opportunity to ask questions about the forecast in our video blog format. But while we're doing this now, might as well go ahead and get started and show you a little bit more about what we're expecting with the forecast into the next couple of days. For tomorrow, it's going to be, again, pretty warm. Numbers back in the mid to upper 80s as we go into the afternoon. Probably is going to be some 90s out there. It depends on how much cloud cover we get, and that is really going to help to keep the temperatures hopefully down a little bit. Chip has got your complete forecast coming up on the noon show, so stay tuned for more on there. 93 was the high temperature and 73 the low, just above normal out there. Record low temperature, and when it gets this hot of a low temperature, this is where we see you're deep in the depths of summertime. 51, the record high that hasn't been broken since 1972, and 5 years after that, a record high temperature of 101 set back in 1977. We're still very dry for the year. Could use some more rainfall coming on through, but as of right now, nothing really imminent for the time being. It will be hot again tomorrow. It will be humid, and there will also be the potential of outdoor thunderstorms. So if you have any outdoor plans, definitely want to keep an eye on that to make certain everybody stays safe. Remember, it takes time to get people to shelter. So again, please be weather aware going into the next several days. Kind of hazy tonight. Some of that is due to pollutants in the atmosphere, but we also, again, have a decent amount of Saharan dust hanging around. That is hopping an ocean away from the continent of Africa. We'll show you more about that coming up in just a little bit. But again, most of this local pollutants, but some of the hazier activity, that again could be some of that atmospheric dust coming on through. 83, the current temperature we managed to get, that's about 10 degrees less hot, I should say, than what we wound up with today. Westerly winds at about 6 miles per hour. Dew point temperatures pretty healthy back in the lower 70-degree range. So we are seeing some kind of, again, very mild to moderate conditions on the temperatures, but that humidity level is still well up there. Mold spores remain at moderate. Grass pollen has gone up to moderate as well. Tree and weed pollen remain at the lower level, so anybody who's got some allergy problems out there, that could be a bit of a concern. Air quality overall, not entirely bad. We are back into the yellow or moderate category. Mostly smoke, soot, and exhaust, the smaller particle pollution there. Ozone gas, the next highest one at 25. So we do have, again, some pollutants, but not as much as we did in a totally stagnant atmosphere. We do have a decent amount of showers and thunderstorms from the Virginias down to about Houston, Texas, and we also have some of that wandering through parts of the area back around Meigs, McMinn, Monroe counties, some showers and thunderstorms making their way up and into around portions of the area of I-40, but we're just not getting too much else. Some thunderstorms south and west of Huntsville. Some of that could make its way up this direction in the next few hours, but so far things are relatively quiet. What we also have is tons of atmospheric moisture from the Gulf, the Atlantic. We are getting a lot of this moisture-rich air, which is the fuel for these thunderstorms. That is where we will continue to see the potential for more thunderstorms developing, and these storms do stand the potential of flash flooding with heavier rainfall, especially if you get several storms crossing the same area over a period of time. You can drop rain after rain after rain, and that all has to go someplace, and that means some flash flooding could be an issue out there. No heat advisory, something we weren't able to show you last week for a better part of the first few days of July. We're not getting anything in the way of baking, broiling type heat for now, but there's always that possibility we may see that once again. What we have is a stationary front sticking around portions of the area, which is helping to give us a little bit more in the way of these showers and thunderstorms developing. That is going to be sticking around for a while. Our next storm system is all the way up toward the Great Lakes, and with an area of high pressure sandwiched in between those systems, this one will be moving down to the southeast and away from us. This one will be taking the first one's place in the next few days. So we will see more chances of rain and thunderstorms out there, especially toward week's end. So if you have outdoor plans, not great news for anybody doing stuff outdoors. Low temperatures tonight back in the high 60s to low 70s. I did not include the fog forecast on here, but there is the potential of some patchy, dense fog in the morning, so definitely want to prepare for that. That could affect your morning commute, depending on which direction you're going, so pay attention to that. Chip will have more on the morning show about that. Back in the high 80s to lower 90s across much of the area into Wednesday. Again, it's not that cool, but it's not as blazing hot as it was a week ago. But with the extra humidity added onto this, it is going to feel relatively sultry, so definitely want to prepare for that. Now we're also again watching the potential of anything involving thunderstorms. There will be the potential of some thunderstorms out there. Doesn't look like too much for Wednesday, a more minimal chances that front drifts away from us, but Thursday we will see the potential of even more areas of thunderstorms developing, and that could be a serious problem for outdoor activities. It's not severe weather. You can have a severe storm without lightning, but with, again, lightning outdoors, you might have seen our newscast tonight talking about that fountain over in Poland, I think it was, that got struck by lightning, and people on the beach in Florida who were standing better part of a mile away from this developing thunderstorm over the ocean, and someone got hit by lightning, and that traveled through the metal pole that he was standing against, and he got shocked by that lightning. So lightning safety is a big concern, to make certain everybody's paying attention, as is the tropics. Now, the really good news, the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Caribbean, all quiet for right now. There's a reason for that, and we talked about it earlier. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Pacific real quick. We have two systems here. First one, stronger, more organized, passing south of the Hawaiian Islands in the next few days, so not much of a problem with this one. The second one forming back closer to the west coast of Central America, south of Mexico itself, and that also, it looks like it's drifting to the west-northwest. That one has less of a chance than storm system number one, but there is still the potential of some development. So if you're heading to the west coast of Mexico, southwest United States, I would be watching this very, very carefully. Now, back over to the Atlantic. Looking across the Atlantic, as the darker brown colors indicates more density when you see the dust. This is totally normal. This is dust from the Sahara crossing the ocean and making its way into the Western Hemisphere. And all of this, as we put this into motion over the next few weeks, the model is showing another burst of air, actually several bursts of air moving up this way as we go throughout the next few days and weeks. So our skies may get colored at sunrise and sunsets because of this dust causing the light to go through thicker layers of stuff in the atmosphere, so that may help to color the sunsets. But what this is also doing is a very good job of blocking out sunlight, and another, it looks like by this time next week, a big push of dust coming in from off of Africa. All of this dust sitting across the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf is doing a good job of blocking out the sunshine, which means this part of the ocean and the Gulf and the Caribbean Sea is not getting heated up by the sun, which means there's less tropical activity, which at this time of the year is actually a very good thing. Considering the temperatures out there, we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but this dust, as it heads our direction, will quash any tropical storm development. Now, one or two storms could form in the gap, and toward the later part of the season, that is a good possibility that that may happen. But for now, the dust is pretty much covering the western quarter of the planet from Africa to Mexico, and that is a good reason why we're not seeing a lot of anything involving heavy amounts of weather coming on through. This is a very good thing when you take a look at SSTs, or sea surface temperatures, which anything above 80 degrees is conducive for a tropical storm to develop. But if you take away that heat from the sun with all that dust that's moving on through, you get less development because there's not as much extra energy in there. This is very bad news because the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic never really cooled off during the winter time. This means that there's tons of energy for any storm system to draw on to develop quickly, possibly even undergoing something that's called rapid intensification. We saw it with Otis last year on the west coast, or the year before on the west coast of Mexico. And notice around the loop current in the mid-Gulf off the coast of Florida, between Florida and the Bahamas, down into around Jamaica, those dark red colors are high 80s, close to 90 degrees. That's water temperature. And you're saying to yourself maybe, okay, well, that's not too bad. That sounds like great water to take a dip in. So what's the big deal? The big deal is this is extra energy sitting in the top surface level of the waters that tropical storms and hurricanes can draw on to get stronger, faster, and more destructive. That is the big problem. So that's why it's great that the dust is around for now to kind of tamp down the possibility of any storms really starting to get developed out there. So for right now, that is the good news that we have, and again, hopefully going to be staying that way in the course of the next few weeks to keep things rather on the quiet side out there. So far, good news. Now, El Nino, a super El Nino, has been confirmed. This will be affecting our weather here. If you haven't heard for right now, it's a good possibility that this El Nino could be affecting us right on into wintertime, which means portions of the Gulf, the Caribbean, and back into the southeast United States could see a lot more rainfall. Now, does that mean snow in winter? It could, but it's not a guarantee. What it does mean is that our regular pattern has been disrupted by one of the strongest El Ninos that we have seen in the past about 4 decades. So this is going to have a big impact, driving moisture one direction, pushing drier air one way, getting the moisture-rich air to go another direction, causing stronger hurricanes in the Pacific, and then also over portions of the Atlantic might even help to drop the amount of hurricanes starting even more than they have anticipated for the last couple of weeks. So that in and of itself, very good news. This is bad news because this is our ocean absorbing more heat from the atmosphere, and that's doing a good job of heating up our planet. We are doing a good job of heating up our planet thanks to climate change, and our oceans are paying the price for that, and that's going to come back on us with stronger, more devastating storms. So that is really something to consider when you talk about climate change. Rest of the next couple of days, not getting too much of anything in the way of relief. Not too many people out and about on Lake Chickamauga. Got some clouds out there for now, but that's about all. Next several days, we will see the potential for temperatures to stay in this very narrow band, high 80s to low 90s. Low temperatures by next week tonight, or next week this morning, we might make our way back in the 60s, and that's going to feel pretty much like an Arctic blast across portions of the area comparatively to what we usually see for this time of the year. And every single day into the weekend, a possibility of flash flooding from an increased threat of showers and thunderstorms. So please keep that in mind, again, for outdoor activities, athletic camps, weddings, anything in the way of vacation, Bible school, gardening outside, anything, bicycling, going to the park, whatever. You really are going to have to pay attention to what is going on. And as we showed you earlier on News 12, that lightning strike in Poland, that was a scary one out there. So something, again, to really pay attention to. That being said, we had a few leftover questions from last week's National Lightning Safety Awareness Week. What is the name for a lightning bolt striking 20 to 30 miles away from a parent storm? Is it a stray strike? Is it an errant zap? Is it a bolt from the blue? This is the important thing to remember when you're at the pool, that the lifeguards are not trying to ruin your day or your swim. They are trying to keep you safe and alive, because you can have a thunderstorm, say, over downtown Chattanooga, and you could get struck by lightning in Soddy Daisy. You could get struck by lightning down around the Chickamauga battlefield. You could get struck in Ottawa. You could get struck by that same storm in Whitwell, over into Stevenson. Anywhere in that 20 to 30 mile radius, you could get struck by lightning. So that right there, the more popular answer was, what is a stray strike? But instead the answer is actually 25% of you got this. It is a bolt from the blue. That is a actual term, and if you'd like to see more about that, head to our website and we can give you more details on what that's all about. I posted the link to NOAA's Lightning Safety Awareness page if you would like to see that with the answer on there, so please go check that out and you can see more about what exactly it is that that lightning strike could do. Again, damage-wise, lightning can be deadly, and we want to try to avoid that at all costs, just, again, to make certain everybody's staying safe out there. So, overnight, back in the 70s, could be some patchy fog, I think, across a good portion of the area. And don't forget, News 12 Chip Chapman will have more on your forecast coming up bright and early on Wednesday morning. So, again, definitely want to stay tuned for more coming up there, and we will definitely keep you advised as we go throughout the next few days on this heat, and hopefully we're not going to get too much out of there to begin with. That should do it for tonight. We've been on for, about almost 20 minutes. That's not bad for a typical night. For those of you looking for more pizzazz in your online video blogs, we don't really have much around here. We talk about the weather. We try to explain what goes on. We enjoy talking about this stuff, but once again, this is pretty much what I more than likely not exactly going to be one of the most exciting weather blogs you've ever seen. We don't go around shouting at people or screaming the forecast. I'll leave that to other quote-unquote professionals out there, and they can take care of that for you. But in the meantime, thanks to everybody for joining us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, for checking in to see what goes on. I'll have more on the forecast tonight on News 12 at 11, and Chip will have more in the morning, so definitely want to stay tuned for more there. Live and direct from downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee, USA, I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. Thanks for joining us for Weather Overtime for Tuesday, brought to you by News 12 sponsor Epikos, comics, cards, and games, your one-stop geek shop that's available at epikosccg.com if you'd like to stop by and peruse their wares as well. More on your forecast tonight. Stay tuned for more details with News 12 on air and